So far in this series, we've covered systems, talent stacks, energy, passion, the nature of reality, loserthink, and the danger of simple answers. Today we are going to explore one of the most practical mental tools in the entire toolkit, the reframe. A reframe is a deliberate shift in perspective. You look at the same situation through a different lens, and suddenly it looks completely different, often in a way that helps you. A reframe is not positive thinking. It's not denial. It's not pretending everything is fine when it isn't. A reframe is a genuine change in the framework you use to interpret a situation. The facts stay the same. Your relationship to them changes. Consider the difference. I failed is a statement about the past. I learned what doesn't work is a statement about the past using a different frame. Same event, different meaning. The first frame makes you feel defeated. The second frame makes you feel like you gained something. Neither frame is objectively true. They're both interpretations. But one interpretation is more useful than the other. Sam Burns collected over 160 reframes in his work, organized by category: mental health, physical health, social life, career success, and even reframes about reality itself. The sheer volume is the point. Reframing isn't one trick, it's a skill, and like any skill, the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Burns identifies 5 rules for creating effective reframes. Rule 1. Reframes don't need to be true. This is the rule that makes people uncomfortable at first. We are trained to value truth above everything else. But a reframe doesn't need to be objectively true, it needs to be useful. If thinking of alcohol as poison helps you drink less, that's a useful reframe even though alcohol isn't literally poison. The test isn't, is this technically accurate? The test is, does this perspective help me? Rule 2. Reframes only need to work. If a reframe changes your behavior in a productive direction, it's a good reframe. Full stop. Don't overthink whether it's philosophically valid. Does it help you make better decisions, feel better, perform better? That's the only metric that matters. Rule 3. You can test reframes quickly. Try one on. See how it feels. Does your body respond differently? Does your mood shift? Does the situation seem more manageable? You don't need to commit to a reframe permanently. Try it on like a coat. If it fits, wear it. If it doesn't, try another. Rule 4. A reframe approaches a topic from a new perspective. This is the mechanical definition. You take the same raw material, the same situation, the same facts, and look at it from a different angle. The angle doesn't need to be clever. It just needs to be different enough to break you out of your current emotional or cognitive pattern. Rule 5. If the reframe creates an advantage, keep it. Simple. Useful reframes are tools you add to your mental toolkit. They don't expire. You use them whenever the situation calls for them. Let's look at some specific reframes that Burns recommends, starting with mental health. I am my inner thoughts becomes I am what I do. This is enormously powerful for people who struggle with anxiety or negative self-talk. Your thoughts are not you. They're noise. What you actually do, your actions, your decisions, your behaviors, that's who you are. When you separate your identity from your thought stream, the thoughts lose much of their power. My trauma crippled me becomes my trauma is why I can kick your ass. This isn't minimizing trauma. It's recognizing that surviving difficult experiences builds resilience, empathy, and strength that other people don't have. The trauma is real. So is the strength it created. I can't handle this for the rest of my life becomes I can do anything for a day. This is a classic technique from addiction recovery, and it applies universally. When you're overwhelmed by the scale of a challenge, shrink the frame. Don't think about forever. Think about today. One day at a time isn't a cliché. It's a practical reframing strategy. Find yourself becomes author yourself. The idea that you have a fixed, pre-existing identity waiting to be discovered is both unhelpful and unsupported by evidence. You are not an archaeological dig. You are a creative project. You build your identity through your choices and actions. Author yourself. Now some reframes for career and achievement. My odds of success are low becomes maybe I'm bad at estimating odds. People consistently underestimate their own capabilities and overestimate the difficulty of things they haven't tried. The odds you're imagining are based on a model, probably an inaccurate one. Reframing the question from what are my odds to how good is my probability estimation changes the dynamic entirely. I fail at 90% of things I try becomes I only need to succeed 10% of the time. This is the venture capital mindset applied to personal life. You don't need a high success rate. You need a few successes that are large enough to outweigh many failures. If you try 10 things and 9 fail, but one succeeds spectacularly, you win. The frame shift is from failure is bad to failure is the price of finding the thing that works. The universe is acting against me becomes the universe owes me. This sounds strange, but it's a reframe about locus of control. When you feel like the world is conspiring against you, you're in a passive frame, a victim frame. The universe owes me is an entitlement frame, and while it sounds arrogant, it's actually more empowering. It moves you from passive to active. Instead of waiting for the world to stop hurting you, you start demanding what you believe you deserve, and acting accordingly. A few social reframes. Everyone is judging me becomes everyone is thinking about themselves. This is perhaps the most liberating reframe in the entire toolkit. The truth is that people are overwhelmingly focused on themselves. They're not thinking about you anywhere near as much as you think they are. Reframing social anxiety from they're evaluating me to they're probably not even paying attention is both accurate and calming. I need to be liked by everyone becomes I need to be respected by the right people. This is a quality over quantity reframe. Seeking universal approval is exhausting and impossible. Being respected by the people whose opinions actually matter to your life and career is achievable and far more valuable. Conflict means something is wrong becomes conflict means people care enough to disagree. Avoiding conflict is one of the most common social traps. It leads to suppressed issues, resentment, and eventually worse conflict. Reframing conflict as a sign of engagement rather than a sign of failure changes how you approach disagreements. Conflict isn't the problem. Unresolved conflict is. Here's one of Burns' favorite reframes, applied to meditation specifically but with broader implications. The purpose of meditation is to eliminate distractions becomes the purpose of meditation is to accept distractions. This single reframe transforms meditation from a frustrating exercise into a continuous practice. When you think the goal is to eliminate thoughts, every thought that arises feels like failure. Your mind wanders, you've failed. You feel an itch, you've failed. A noise distracts you, you've failed. No wonder people quit meditation. But when the goal is to accept distractions, everything changes. A thought arises, you notice it, accept it, and return to your focus. That's not failure. That's the practice. A noise distracts you, you accept it, let it pass, return to your focus. That's the practice. The reframe turns meditation from an impossible standard into an endlessly repeatable process. And this pattern applies beyond meditation. Any activity where you feel like you're constantly failing because you can't meet an impossible standard, try reframing the standard. Often the problem isn't you. It's the frame. Reframes are deliberate perspective shifts. Same facts, different meaning. They don't need to be true, they need to be useful. The 5 rules don't need to be true, only need to work, contest quickly, approach from new angle, keep if advantageous. We covered specific reframes for mental health, success, social life, and meditation. Each one takes a disempowering frame and replaces it with an empowering one. Reframing is a skill. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Start with the ones that resonated most and apply them this week. If you take one thing from this episode, pick one situation in your life right now that feels stuck or overwhelming. Try reframing it using one of the patterns we discussed. I am my thoughts becomes I am what I do. My odds are low becomes maybe I'm bad at estimating. See how it feels. If it helps, keep it. Next time, we are going to look at one of the most uncomfortable truths in this entire series. We are going to talk about why people are irrational, and why you need to accept that, not fight it. It's episode 9 of The Wisdom of Smarter People. Thanks for listening.